NASA astronauts splashed down off Florida coast after 9 months stuck in space. Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams were only meant to be on the ISS for 8 days when they blasted off from Earth on 5 June last year. SpaceX will bring 2 NASA astronauts back from the International Space Station this month after a damaged spacecraft extended their 8-day journey into a 9-month commission. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk said he believes the 2 astronauts were stuck in space for political reasons and he could have rescued them sooner. So not so big a surprise. The astronauts say they believe Musk and have been left in the dark about what really happened. World's richest man Elon Musk will help bring 2 NASA astronauts back to Earth after a Boeing spacecraft suffered technical issues, leaving the 2 aboard the International Space Station, ISS, for 9 months. He claims it could have been done sooner. On June 5, 2024, Barry Wilmore and Sunita Williams embarked for the ISS on the Boeing Starliner. The long-time NASA astronauts were set to stay for 8 days, but the spacecraft suffered multiple technical issues en route to space. NASA deemed the Starliner too risky to carry astronauts back to Earth and sent the spacecraft home without its crew in September, leaving the 2 without a ride home. Now, the NASA astronauts are set to return on March 19 or 20, but they will make their return to Earth SpaceX aboard its Crew 9 return flight. Last year, Musk offered to help bring the 2 astronauts home sooner than planned, but he claims he was rejected by the Biden administration. They were left up there for political reasons, which is not good. Musk said in an interview alongside President Donald Trump with Fox News host Sean Hannity. In a separate interview last week with Joe Rogan, Musk said the Biden administration intentionally pushed the return date past the inauguration date in an effort to downplay Trump and his allies' successes. There's no way that they're going to make anyone who's supporting Trump look good, Musk told Rogan. In a Tuesday press conference, Williams and Wilmore were asked to confirm the credibility of Musk's statements about the Biden administration. Wilmore said it is absolutely factual, while still choosing his words carefully so as not to pick sides. Obviously, we've heard some of these different things that have been said. Wilmore said, I can tell you at the outset, all of us have the utmost respect for Mr. Musk and obviously respect and admiration for our President of the United States, Donald Trump. The words they've said, politics, that's part of life. We understand that, and there's an important reason why have a political system. And the political system that we do have, and we're behind it 100%. Wilmore added he and Williams were left in the dark with no information whatsoever on what actually went down behind closed doors. That's information that we simply don't have, so I believe him, Wilmore said, although it's unclear whether NASA controlled the information that Wilmore and Williams received during their extended stay in space. The IS does have internet access on board, according to NASA's website, which means there's a possibility they could have heard about Musk's intentions to help bring the 2 astronauts home. While NASA did not initially respond to Fortune's request for comment. The surprise: the Federal Space Agency has previously denied any claims of political involvement impacting the timeline of the astronauts' return. I can tell you unequivocally, from a personal standpoint, that politics has not played any part in this decision. Then NASA Administrator Bill Nelson said on Aug. 24, it absolutely has nothing to do with it. As the astronauts await their trip back to Earth, morale is strong aboard the ISS. We're doing pretty darn good, actually. You know, we've got food, we've got clothes. We have great crew members up here. Williams told CNN in February, we don't feel abandoned. We don't feel stuck. We don't feel stranded. SpaceX did not return Fortune's request for comment. This story was originally featured on Fortune.com. Cappy Canaveral, Flaw, Apta Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams were barely known outside space circles when they strapped in for what was supposed to be a quick test flight of Boeing's Starliner capsule last June. 9 months later, they've captured the world's attention and hearts as NASA's stuck astronauts. Their homecoming is imminent now that a new crew has arrived at the International Space Station to replace them after launching from Florida last week. They're flying back with SpaceX, their problem-plagued Starliner having returned to Earth empty months ago, leaving them behind in orbit. Their SpaceX capsule undocked from the station early Tuesday for the 17-hour ride home. Here's a look at Suni and Butch and their drama-filled mission. Who are the stuck astronauts? The two test pilots came to NASA via the Navy. Wilmore, 62, played high school and college football in his home state of Tennessee before joining the Navy. Williams, 59, grew up in Needham, Massachusetts, a competitive swimmer and distance runner. Wilmore racked up 6,063 aircraft carrier landings, while Williams served in combat helicopter squadrons. NASA picked Williams as an astronaut in 1998, followed by Wilmore in 2000. Each had 2 space flights behind them, including months-long stints at the space station before signing up as Starliner's first crew. While they accepted their homecoming delays, they noted it was much harder on their families. Not surprised, Wilmore's wife, Deanna, has held down the fort, according to her husband. Their oldest daughter is in college, and their youngest in her last year of high school. William's husband, Mike, a retired federal marshal, has been caring for their 2 Labrador retrievers. She said her mother is the worrier. What are the stuck astronauts looking forward to on Earth? Besides reuniting with loved ones, Wilmore, an elder with his Baptist church, can't wait to get back to face ministering and smelling fresh cut grass. Wilmore kept in touch with members of his congregation over the months. Take a surprise, taking part in occasional prayer services and calling ailing members via the space station's internet phone. Williams looks forward to long walks with her dogs and an ocean swim. Several other astronauts have spent even longer in space, so no special precautions should be needed for these 2 once they're back. According to NASA, every astronaut that launches into space, we teach them don't think about when you're coming home. So big a surprise. Think about how well your mission's going, and if you're lucky, you might get to stay longer. NASA's Space Operations Mission Chief and former astronaut Ken Bowersox said last week. Why were the stuck astronauts in a political dust-up? Wilmore and Williams found themselves in the middle of a political storm when President Donald Trump and SpaceX founder Elon Musk announced at the end of January they would accelerate the astronauts' return and blamed the Biden administration on keeping them up there too long. NASA officials stood by their decision to wait for the next scheduled SpaceX flight to bring them home, targeting a February return. But their replacements got held up back on Earth because of battery work on their brand new SpaceX capsule. SpaceX switched capsules to speed things up, moving up their return by a couple of weeks. The two left the space station in the capsule that's been up there since last fall. Williams blew kisses to the 7-station residents staying behind. It's great to see how much people care about our astronauts, Bowersox said, describing the pair as professional, devoted, committed, really outstanding. Why did the stuck astronauts switch space taxis? Astronauts always fly back in the same spacecraft they launched in. Wilmore and Williams launched aboard Boeing's Starliner and transferred to SpaceX's Dragon for the ride back. Their first flights were aboard NASA's space shuttle, followed by Russia's Soyuz capsule. Both the Starliner and Dragon are completely autonomous, but capable of manual command if necessary. As test pilots, they were in charge of the Starliner. The Dragon had fellow astronaut Nick Hague in command. He launched in it last September with a Russian and 2 empty seats reserved for Wilmore and Williams. What's the future of Boeing's Starliner? Starliner almost didn't make it to the space station. Soon after the June 5 liftoff, helium leaked and thrusters malfunctioned on the way to the orbiting lab. NASA and Boeing spent the summer trying to figure out what went wrong and whether the problems would repeat on the flight back, endangering its 2 test pilots. NASA ultimately decided it was too risky and ordered the capsule back empty in September. Engineers are still investigating the thruster breakdowns, and it's unclear when Starliner will fly again, with astronauts or just cargo. NASA went into its commercial crew program wanting 2 competing U.S. So big a surprise. Companies for taxi service for redundancy's sake and stand by that choice. At GGU, the Associated Press Science Department receives support from the Howard Hughes Medical Institute Science, an educational media group, and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. The AP is solely responsible for all content.